everybody, and welcome to the newest indoor adventure in Waterdeep, War of the Spark. Today is February 18th, 2020, and you are loved. That is a very important thing that we like to remind each and every single one of you viewers at the beginning of each and every single one of our sessions, because we feel like it is important. If this is your first time catching us, consider going to youtube.com/indooradventures, where you can check up on all of the VODs as well as any other videos that we might have up there still from back when we first started doing this. We also have audiocasts available for your consumption wherever audiocasts are available under the same moniker. If you already support the show with audiocasts, with YouTube, and with Twitch, consider going to patreon.com/indooradventures, where you can gain access to our after show called Nights in the Courtyard, where we answer questions from the community and also from each other. Other than that, you can, hey, I see it's still winter out, and maybe you're looking a little cold these days. Consider going to indooradventure.redbubble.com. We got hoodies there. We got hoodies that are properly labeled. We got mugs, we got t-shirts, we got blankets, we got all sorts of stuff all ready for you. And of course, all of the proceeds from every sale on Redbubble go to just help support the show. So if you would like to help support the show in that way, there's a link for you. Other than that, that is it for my spiel. Hey RJ, who are you playing tonight?
Hey everybody, I'm RJ, and I'm playing Hubris, the Tiefling Sorcerer Warlock.
I'm Greybeard of Greybeard's Tavern, and I'm playing KRONK GOREBLAST, Goliath Gladiator.
Hi, I'm LBHackEmUp, and I'll be playing Ghost, the Shifter Bloodhunter Cleric.
I'm Wings, also known as Danae, and I'm going to be playing Virtue, the Tiefling Rogue Sorcerer.
And I am the Indoor Adventurer, and tonight I shall be your Dungeon Master. So, last where we left off, the group, after some time apart, finally managed to reconvene. Ghost being a little worse for wear, having met with the God Pharaoh himself, Bolas, in which Bolas scraped through a few memories that Ghost might have had, found out a few things that they were interested in, and then sent Ghost on their way. Hubris, having figured out where the person that they were supposed to be rescuing, Gideon Jura, had gone off to, ended up going to the Blood Pits, and it was there that Hubris transformed themselves into a Tyrannosaurus Rex in front of a gargantuan demon lord who thought that that was the raddest shit ever, and the demon lord thusly invited you into Raxamundi, the primary guild hall for the cult of Rakdos. It was there in this guild hall that Gideon obtained the help of Rakdos by letting Rakdos punch him incredibly hard, just the once in the chest. And it was around that time that the rest of your group ended up reconvening with you, Hubris, and together the lot of you were able to recover Gideon and made your way back up to the city streets. It was at this point that Gideon was very adamant that you were all going to then go to the camp that is being occupied by the Gatewatch, the group of good doers, planeswalkers, including Ajani, Jace, Karn, Chandra. All of these planeswalkers are there. All of them are looking to help Ravnica in its time of need. Now, I know that last time we had left off with you arriving at this planeswalker camp. However, we're going to backtrack a little bit because it is a several-day airship journey to actually get there. And I know that there are some character interactions that we weren't able to have last time because of time constraints. So this is the first day that you are on the airship proper. Cavan, Dipsywix, and Zissy are all doing their best to help run this airship, while Captain Sunder, who has been revealed to be Hubris's young sister Virtue, is the captain of this ship, and together you are all able to get up into the air, and upon knowing what course and direction you are heading to, the rest of the crew is confident that Virtue, you can go and kind of maneuver around, and they'll take care of the more finer things. As it honestly doesn't take that many, it takes less crew members to run an airship than it does an actual ship. So, it is the first day that you are on the airship. Is there anything that you all would like to discuss? Currently, airship occupants include the original cabin members of the Greener Pastures, the 4 of you, and 1 Gideon Jura.
Anybody?
Yeah, that's harsh.
Any takers?
Anybody want to?
Now, so Virtue is still hiding her identity from Ghost? No.
Nah, she took her hat off at the end of last session.
Okay. All right. So, well, if that's not a situation, we've got the planeswalkers all on board at this
Only
point.
Gideon is on board.
Oh.
Gideon is on board. You are making your way to the Planeswalker encampment, which is where we ended last session. But I know that specifically Virtue and Ghost had a thing that they were going to do. So rather than pussyfoot around, let's throw both of you two in the ring.
Okay. Would Virtue approach Ghost?
No.
Okay.
But she
I
has
think,
been giving Ghost, like, dirty looks.
I think Ghost would approach Hubris first before talking to his sister.
All right.
What is Hubris doing?
He's probably inspecting his long rifle, kind of just like looking it over. Uses minor image to cast like a target 30 feet away. Leans over and just casts an Eldritch Bolt.
When you cast your Eldritch Bolt through the long rifle, which since your time in Raxamundi has become a much more red and black oriented thing, firearm, there is actually a cackle that emits from the firearm when you pull the trigger on it.
Don't like that.
And you see that there is a new inscription along the side of your long rifle, whereas before, when it was just a pistol, it was called the Showstopper. It looks like this weapon has developed its own name of the Last Laugh.
He has this grimace on his face.
Ghost will approach from the side, so she's not sneaking up on him. Very, I don't know, slowly, cautiously. She just kind of says, "Are you okay?"
Depends on your definition of okay, but I'm coping.
Like actually coping, or coping in the way that you're not at all?
Column A, column B. There are some things that I can cope and some things that I can't cope. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you found your sister.
Yeah. Not how I would have liked to have found her, but, beggars can't be choosers.
Right. I guess I don't really know what to say. I just I don't want there to be any cold air between us. For now, because we have a job to do.
Right. professionalism, I guess. I heard from KRONK about that night.
What did he say?
It wasn't a hit. Someone got a little overzealous.
Yeah. Well, when that happened, when I saw your face afterwards, the way you looked at me, and I decided that it would be better if you hated me, because then I couldn't hurt you anymore. So I let it go.
That's very like you.
But I feel awful about the way that you've been living up until now, and I know that you're an amazing dad to Siren, and of course, when we get back, whatever you need, I'll set you up with, housing, and so the two of you can be comfortable.
I've been mulling it over for a while, Ghost. If you are truly sorry about the whole situation, if you really do intend for her to have the best, I think it would be best if she did have a mother figure in her life.
I mean, of course, I'd love to take her on the weekends or whatever, and we can travel up to see Hoon sometime and all that.
I was debating about it for a while, but I don't think separation is the best idea for her. We'll talk about it more when we get back, but we'll talk about it more when we get back.
Sure. Yeah, whatever you'd like to. I just want you to know I'm not expecting anything, from this whole endeavor. I know things are complicated and crazy and all that, but I just prefer if you knew the truth over what I've been telling you, I guess.
Thanks, I guess, for telling me the truth, even though I had to have KRONK tell me.
Well, I wasn't really able to the last couple days and the last week, and was never really a time for it before that, but
It's fair. Gods are not good with awkward situations.
So your sister, any words of advice for speaking with her?
I don't know, per se. It's been a very long time since I last seen her, and then she got taken for another 6 years, so gods know how much she's changed since then. Be kind, I guess. Don't lay it on too thick.
The kindness? I'd prefer not to lie to her.
Don't lie to her, but don't be confrontational.
She
That's
puts
the
a hand on her chest. I would never.
He tilts his head like, really?
Well, then I shall seek her out and see if I can mend any bridges. Thank you for telling her that what you believed about me. That's going to make things much more difficult.
Sorry. You're good at smoothing things over and being all social, right?
When I'm lying.
Just be good at being social, but minus the lying.
All right. Sorry again.
Hubris pops the rifle onto his shoulder. If you're feeling any warm, it's getting pretty warm around here, so tonight, if you're feeling up for it.
Well, I will take that into consideration. She kind of gives him a little smirk and turns and walks towards his sister.
She hears an audible sigh, a thunk as the rifle hits the railing of the ship, and the cackle with the blast. Yeah, sorry.
She'll, what is Virtue doing?
Dipsy, stoke the fires. Zissy, swab the poop deck. Kevin, keep a steady bearing on the horizon. You guys know what to do. I'm gonna take a walk.
Captain company?
Virtue looks at Ghost and then just steps directly off of the edge of the ship.
Well, I can't follow you there.
And then she appears next to her, just up over the railing.
Magically, or she is flying?
She walked down the side of the ship and then up over the railing next to her. What do you want?
That's a fun trick. I just wanted to, if we're going to be on this adventure together, I wanted to get to know you better.
What's there to know?
Well, you pilot you are the captain of a ship. How'd you get into that?
Upward mobility, mostly based in mortality.
You know, I can relate to that a lot. I'm not very good at small talk. Do you know why this creature is after you?
As far as I know, I think he just wants to eat me.
But why you? If you don't mind me asking.
Okay, you know what a planeswalker is? Do you know about the whole spark situation?
No, not the spark situation, but I know about planeswalkers.
Oh, okay, well, some people have this magical thing inside them called a spark. And this guy, Bolas, wants them.
Is that why he's trapped all of you here?
Yeah, I think so.
But is he after you particularly, or just all of you in general?
I mean, I think he thinks that I'm just going to be an easy target.
Perhaps.
My spark didn't awaken until I got here. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm kind of a baby.
Right.
Covered in bacon. Naked in the woods, surrounded by wolves.
Did your brother ever tell you about the time that we faced off against a dragon?
No, he didn't.
Well, we've been through a lot together, and not just parenthood and the life that brings. But we had some dangerous times, and working together and listening to each other is a large part of why we succeeded.
I'm sure that's all well and good, but this isn't like the dragons we have back home.
I know. She gives her a very, like, stern look.
Comforting.
All I can say is, if you need anything, or you want someone to talk to who's not your brother, or as much as I love KRONK, he doesn't really add to the conversation. He kind of just agrees and bounces ideas back at you.
Don't underestimate the value of a good listener.
I mean, that's why I keep him around. He's my clanmate, after all. You want to see our tattoos?
No. Don't be weird.
I don't know. It works on your brother. Speaking of,
She climbs up on the railing and just starts walking it.
I'm not very good about... I do love your brother, and what happened was not as it seemed. So I don't have any malice against him or wish him harm. Just so we are perfectly clear.
You got a funny way of showing it.
Yes, well, my occupation can sometimes leave me cold. But I did not put out a kill order out, and it was a capture order.
Sounds like that went really well.
Well, I can tell you, if I wanted him dead, he probably would be.
More comfort.
Enjoy a walk. Ghost walks away.
Wait, she hops down from the railing. I'm sorry. I deal with these kinds of things with sarcasm.
Well,
If I'm being honest, I am really stressed right now.
I can imagine why. This is bigger than anything that I've dealt with, and these planeswalkers, they're more powerful than many things that I've seen. I don't know what we're supposed to do in this whole mess. We can't wish to fight.
At this point, that might be the only choice we have left.
I'm okay with being backup, but I can tell you from personal experience, I have a very strong mind. Not many people can get inside of it. And the fact that he was able to do so for 3 days, with me having no control over it, it is unsettling, to say the least.
You know, you're right. We probably don't stand a chance on our own. Which is why we're gonna have to ask the Planeswalkers for help.
It's their fight. I mean, we'll help, but really, he's after them.
Yeah, well, he's after me too. So, you know what? You can leave if you want. I have no intention of getting my brother's wife killed in this whole situation, but I think I'm gonna have to fight in this.
I found that a direct approach isn't always the only approach. There will be fighting, but there may be a part for us to play that isn't necessarily on the front lines. We all have skills that are, in their own right, powerful.
Virtue kind of like looks around, shrugs, and then shoots sparks out of her hands. She's like, covert isn't really in my vocabulary.
Well, I might have something for that, if that is what we're needing to do, but I'm not certain what part we are to play, but don't count yourself out of any position yet. From what I've seen, you're very talented and quite strong. And especially with this spark thing inside of you, I think you'll do all right.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll just see how that goes.
Do you drink?
No.
Well, then I'm going to. She's gonna go downstairs.
You enjoy that. Virtue walks up a rope onto the balloon.
Okay. So, Ghost, you have gone into the hole. Hubris, you are still out firing eldritch blasts with your long rifle. And KRONK, is there anything that you would like to be doing during this time?
Yeah, as Hubris is firing the cackling rifle, KRONK comes up and he's got like huge armloads of stone. And he's like, Hubris, wait a minute. I tore up the floorboards in the bottom. There was all this stone at the bottom of the ship. Here.
KRONK, no!
He hucks a huge piece of rock out over the side.
The balloon lifts as he does this.
Ready? Pull!
No, KRONK! That's part of...
Who just tossed my rocks?
Gross.
Had to be said.
I'm scared.
Hey, this is cool. We can control the ship with this. You're not
We
shooting
can't-
them.
I know, but we need those for... What? Lift? Buoyancy? What the fuck is this ship on?
I don't know. But
Pull.
pull up. Oh, no.
The ship lifts slightly yet again. Make an attack roll.
I was gonna say we're gonna keep doing it until
an
somebody
attack
tells us
roll.
not to.
Plus...
My dumb boys.
Ghost, you were in the process of pouring yourself a drink when the first lift happened, and so you just got whatever you were trying to indulge in, like, over your hand on the side of the cup.
19.
Oh, you hit that rock.
Huh.
It was a good time.
We should probably not hit any, toss any more of those overboard. They're kind of important.
As KRONK is lifting the next rock, Virtue lands
and
on
the
top of it.
And the ship is like probably listing this way because I brought all this heavy weight over to one edge and set it down.
Oh, yeah.
Virtue grips the rock and wraps her tail around it, and she says, "Do not throw the rocks."
But we're going up faster.
Yeah,
Higher.
but we gotta go back down again sometime.
I'll just jump a lot.
No, don't do that. That's bad. That's very bad.
At this point, Zissy has come up from under the hole and just grabs the sides of the rock, pulls them away from you, and just looks at you with this elephants never forget look in their eye, and then just steadily walk, always looking towards you, KRONK, but just they are
Virtue is
swearing in
still clinging.
Loxodon, they have just... This is a bad time for the boat.
As they
Virtue's still
pass,
clinging to the rock, and she's just like,
did you know there's a hole in the bottom of the ship?
And as you say that, you hear Cavan's voice from down below. seeming to have found this same hole that KRONK had made in order to obtain these rocks. Just, who is fucking with this ship?
Can we hear that on deck?
KRONK.
You can hear the muffled sounds of them,
Oh.
yes.
I can.
KRONK.
When
He was-
Kevin emerges from down below, Dipsy, the goblin, just like accusatory point towards KRONK. And Kevin just, I thought it was you. No. 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 Do
Ship's
not
on
go
board.
under the ship. Stay up here.
Fine.
I can fix whatever he made.
It's not
No,
what
he can fix what
it's
he
what
made.
he got rid of.
Oh. I do have an idea of how we can get the extra weight back.
Just... Kevin just is like, all of the crew members are just like stank faced towards your group. And off towards the back of the aft castle, arms folded, leaned up against the back is Gideon, who's just kind of chuckling to himself, watching all of this unfold.
Ghost is gonna walk up to KRONK, like put her hand up, motion for him to come down, and just bump him on the nose. That was bad.
Boring. I hate ships. I didn't get to fight in the blood pit. And now, and he looks over at Gideon. He's like, Gideon says I don't even get to fight in the big fight.
Oh, buddy, we'll have things to do, just not when we're on the ship. Do you want to play a game?
No puzzles, Hubris says as he walks up like towards Gideon.
Sure.
We can wrestle. No, that would cause too much. We could. You know what I have that's perfect for the situation?
Mm,
Do you remember the old Toby I have? The pipe weed? Do you want some of that?
Sure. Sounds good.
Okay. Ghost is going to hand the pipe off to him.
To
The gnomish made pipe.
The Goliath is gonna get stoned.
Yeah. Puts his back against the mast in the middle of the ship and it's, hits the gnomish pipe and
Yeah.
like a stone.
And KRONK is finding his center until eventually he starts looking at his hands very intently. Just kind of like turns hands from front to back repeatedly, just admiring the fact that he has these wonderful things.
Ghost leans over to Hubris. You know, I figured this out about 2 years ago when he gets bored. If you give him this, entertain for hours.
That would have been nice to have when we did this run the first time around.
Well, I don't have that much, but hopefully it'll last. And you know what? Tomorrow maybe we could do naked statue time. I mean, think of the breeze.
I'm assuming KRONK is not part of that conversation.
Right.
No, this is being said as an aside.
All right.
I should probably tell my sister and the crew to remain below deck while that's happening, just for decency purposes.
Just warn them. It's their choice.
So my big Goliath friend is gonna get nude for about 4 hours.
What?
You heard me. Did I stutter, sister?
I wish you had.
And Hubris, you said that you wanted to speak with Gideon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey.
You keep interesting company.
I fell into some interesting company. They decided to stick around.
You say that, but I don't believe you.
Hubris smirks.
I've seen you fight. You're scrappy. You literally turned into an Ixalan Thunderbeast. In the middle of an arena that was demanding bloodshed, you became one of the most bloodthirsty creatures. You say that you fell in with this group. I don't believe you.
Would you believe me if I said when I first started with them, I was less murdery?
Now that I would believe.
I grew up trained as a thief, honestly, but hanging out with them kind of changed me. I don't think for the better, but I can handle myself now.
Thank you for the follow, Adventure K298. GB.
Do the thing.
All right. K298. When I'm on the show and someone follows or subscribes, I take this mallet and I hit that guy in the face.
So satisfying. And Gideon says to you, Hubris, you don't have to stay murdery as you described it. You realize that, right? It's a choice.
Given my circumstances for the last 5 years, I have been on for so long, I don't think I can turn off.
And again, I don't believe you. You have a want to help people. You jumped into a pit with only knowing my name, not my story. You have a desire to help. Whether or not you can turn it off. If you were beyond saving, you wouldn't even think those thoughts. The fact that you believe that there is a possibility of turning on or off, it's there.
The fact remains, though, if there is going to be a fight, I'm going to have to be turned on for this.
And Gideon just pauses. Gross.
He winks.
Don't do that.
What? The double entendre or the wink?
Nope. Either. Don't. Nope. And then Gideon just sort of chuckles a little bit again and says, there is not going to be room for choices here shortly. We are all going to have to fight for survival. There will be innocents. There will be those who we have to rescue. And it will be important that we do so.
I believe we're going to be discussing that at the console, correct?
And he nods and says, say there was someone that you cared for, and they found themselves completely consumed by dark dealings. Would you rescue them, even when everyone around you told you not to?
He looks over to where KRONK, Ghost, and Virtue are. Yeah.
And Gideon nods and says, perhaps there is some hope for you yet.
I came here to see how you were doing, but fuck. And he'll punch him on the shoulder.
And Gideon, you see, like, looks where you punched him and then just goes,
Oh, come on. Come on.
No,
really?
You really got me on that one.
Oh, I have been working out, though, you know? See these guns? They're almost as big as Rakdos's.
A few more push-ups, like tops 5 more and you'll get there.
Can't wait.
And at that, Gideon he excuses himself to then go and kind of begin what you believe to be his presentation for the council, what his thoughts on the matter are. And later on in the evening, Virtue, when you have retired back to your cabin, and why I'm assuming that Hubris and Ghost are being gross somewhere.
It's an open cabin, man.
Has that ever stopped you?
Yeah, Ghost, yes. Gwen, no.
Okay.
Ghost, yes.
Okay. There is a knock on your door, Virtue, and when you go to answer it, it's Gideon who's standing there. And he says, permission to enter, Captain.
Permission granted.
He nods and takes a step inside and says, I just wanted to let you know that I am sorry for doubting you. I know I wasn't exactly the most supportive when we initially met, but I owe you and your friends, are they your friend? That doesn't matter. I owe you all my life. And with it, hopefully the lives of all Ravnica. Ones that we can save.
Oh, hey man, you're tougher than that. You probably would have gotten out of that somehow.
And he smirks a little bit and says, but there is something that I need to talk to you about.
I'm listening.
What is going on here? What is happening with everyone? You can't run away from this. None of us can. Bolas is an enemy that we all must face. And I know that you have been hesitant in wanting to join our efforts. But I feel like you are going to be vital for these next stages.
Jeez, no pressure.
And at that he smirks and kind of acknowledges that he acknowledges the no pressure comment and says, if there was a way that we could teach you the extent of your abilities quicker without the time constraint, that would be preferable for all of us, I'm sure.
Listen, I know I haven't been a planeswalker for very long, but I was doing things before all of this. I've got other skills. She like shoots sparks into the air and then throws 3 daggers into the wall. Like, I still got something up my sleeve.
And he nods and says, that is why I wanted to ask you for someone who is good at running away and hiding, having been hidden for as long as you have. Are you familiar with a heist?
Personally, not so much, but I might know a few people who are.
And Gideon says, there is something that Bolas has here that is keeping us all here. If we can go and turn it off or destroy it in some fashion, then we can stop the bloodshed.
You're saying that if we turn this thing off, then we'll be able to get out of here?
Not just us. The weaker ones. The ones who have just come into their power, such as yourself. This will allow you an opportunity to leave. Not just you, but many others like you that have found their way here and can no longer return.
Virtue starts kind of tapping her face and pacing as he's talking. All right. Maybe this time we can put him on the run.
And Gideon nods and says, that is the hope. If he thinks that he's trapped us all here, once we free the younger ones, we can end this fight. And for that, we need your help. Or at least...
Great. Well, I'm going to need your help, because there isn't, like, not everybody is as welcoming as you are.
And he nods. And says that he will speak on your behalf. And that with the respect that he has garnered from the other members of the Gatewatch, that this plan, he hopes, will at least get some traction. He also expresses that based off of the interactions that you've had, as well as having been updated by Jace via a sending spell, he knows that upon your arrival back at the Gatewatch camp, that a lot of you will at least have a few days before things actually kick off. And as you agree to help Gideon, and Gideon agrees to speak on your behalf to the rest of the council, he then stands, gives you a brief bow, and says, "Captain," and makes his way out of your chamber. And unless there is anything else that would like to be discussed over the next several days, we will just move forward to the landing scene from last week.
Okay. Before we land, Virtue wants to speak with her crew.
Okay. Yeah. You gather your crew. And
all right, line up, everybody.
The three of them form a small line. And it is Cavan on one side, Zissy on the other, and Dipsywix in the middle. So it looks like a almost V-like shape.
The three of you have been the best and only crew I've ever had. I might be going the way of Captain Claddock sometime soon, and I'll admit, when I became captain, I never had any intention of going down with the ship, but I'll be damned if the ship goes down with the captain. I'm going to be joining Planeswalkers, and I don't want any of you putting yourselves in danger. So, If you never see me again, Cavan's in charge. Dipsywix is my second choice. And Zissy, honestly, you should have gotten out while you still could. This organization is upward mobility is basically based on the mortality rate, which has been historically pretty awful. So, sorry for that. It's been great, you guys. See you later.
And
hopefully,
at that, Zissy and Dipsywix both seem like there's a little bit of like them trying to talk you out, and Cavan just remains calm, has his hands behind his back, and says, "You cannot get away from us so easily, Captain. I say we put it to a vote as the decisionist, whether or not we stay with the captain or whether we leave."
You motherfucker.
And you see that he gets a gleam in his eye as a slight a smirk appears on his lips. And Dipsywix and Zissy both pause and then look towards Cavan, who again just has his arms behind his back, and says, "All in favor of leaving the captain to make a terrible, terrible decision? Say aye."
She looks at Zissy and Dipsywix really pointedly.
"All in favor of staying with the captain and forcing them to remain as captain of the greener pastures until the job is done, say aye." And Cavan raises their hand, and Dipsy raises their hand, and Zissy raises their hand as well.
Hubris is in the background, and he tilts over and raises his hand as well.
You don't count.
Cavan, do I count?
Well, it looks like this is 4 against 1. Because Cavan's vote counts for 2.
Oh boy, I wish I had never found him.
I am sorry, Captain, but the crew has spoken. You're stuck with us, I am afraid.
She turns around, she gives them a stink-faced look that just kind of melts into a smile. And she's gonna reach out and grab all 3 of them in a big ol' hug.
And the crew of the greener pastures shares a meaningful embrace amongst themselves. They're a good crew, and your crew is pleased with their captain.
These stinkers.
And KRONK's still on the prow of the ship, naked like a figurehead, not moving.
Her gaze drifts off to the side. She's like, "Whoa, okay, looking over here now."
Ghost, we don't have to have a scene, but Ghost would have asked which planeswalker she should talk to about getting her mind in check.
Gideon would have told you. I feel like he's the only one that you can really ask other than Virtue. But either party would tell you the same answer, which is that you would want to speak with Jace Beleren.
And Ghost has no idea who this is, so she's like, "All right, can you point them out to me when we get there?"
And Gideon chuckles and says he's the only one who wears blue robes.
No,
trust me, you'll know that Jace Hole when you see him.
And then we transfer over the next several days as the airship, the Greener Pastures, is descending on the camp of the Gatewatch. And as you look down at this group, Ghost, this is your first time meeting or seeing the individuals that form the Gatewatch all together. There is a large lion man with albino white fur that has a large double-bladed glaive that is currently talking with an individual who is wearing a blue robe. You are assuming that this individual is Jace Beleren. Jace has kind of runic tattoos along the side of his face and has short, black, unkempt hair. He is a little bit thinner, but comparatively to even Hubris, they seem to have roughly the same kind of body type. Then there is a red-haired woman who... KRONK, are you still... no, because Naked Statue Time was on day 2. So upon seeing KRONK on the ship, this individual actually will wave up towards you, KRONK, seeming to remember the impression that you left last you were here. And the task mage, Jaya, standing next to Chandra, just gives a very hearty chuckle as she remembers as well what Chandra has been saying about her interaction with KRONK since the last these two met. And one of the things that you hear upon your descent is Jace arguing with Ajani that we can't trust her. She's a snake in the grass. It doesn't make any sense. Or actually, I think it was Ajani who was saying that to Jace last time. Sorry. And so Ajani makes mention of this snake in the grass. And your ship lands, and as it does, they seem to hush their conversation, and your group is then able to descend off of the airship. You realize that there is also another member with them this time. It is a elven woman who also seems to have these very thick striped tattoos along the sides of her face that almost seem like they are more for like a jungle camo. But she has very long elven ears, which isn't something that you're necessarily used to. And she just has these verdant green eyes that almost seem to have a bit of a glow to them. And Virtue, you would know this planeswalker by the name of Nissa. She has been out on diplomatic missions talking with the Selesnya and the other more naturally aligned guilds of Ravnica. But overall, she is a much more druidic companion for the Gatewatch. And when Gideon arrives, Jaya and Ajani end up meeting with Gideon, and Gideon exclaims that it was your group that ended up helping find and also rescue him, and he needs to speak with them quite shortly, or in a short amount of time, to be able to discuss what his current plan is. However, Gideon will also direct Jace towards you, Ghost, saying that you had specifically asked to speak with him. And it seems like Jace, hearing that somebody called for him specifically, like he gets a little bit full of kind of a haughty energy. And when he comes over, he looks very young. Jace is maybe mid to late 20s, early 30s, comparatively to Gideon, who looks like he's well into his 40s at this point. Jace seems like a much younger fellow than many of his other Planeswalker companions are. And he looks at you, and he has these almost dark, his eyes are like a dark blue storm. You don't see like electricity or anything like that pulsing in them, but it's almost like staring into a ocean that is reflecting a full gray sky. It is just these very deep blue eyes, and he just sort of crosses his arms when he comes over to you. He doesn't seem to want to talk to anyone ever. And he looks you up and down and says, "Can I help you?" Gideon
yes.
said that you needed to talk to me for something. What is it?
I was told that you are the most capable when it comes to mind magic.
Well, of course. I mastered mind magic when I was in my teens. It's honestly routine at this point.
Well, wonderful. You see, the dragon has been in my head.
And at that, Jace's eyes go wide. And he grabs your arm and begins to pull you towards a tent. And he says, "Stop talking. I need you to come with me."
She will allow him to do this.
Hubris, Virtue, and KRONK, you all see Jace just like full on grip Ghost's arm and then begin walking towards a large kind of bluish colored tent.
I'm sure that's fine. She's gonna lean into Ajani and say, "What are the chances that he's about to kill her?"
Depends on what happened.
KRONK had left the boat, KRONK style, leapt off, and then landed and was like, "Roar!" And his cape was billowing like against the wind, like the opposite way the wind is blowing for theatrical events. And then all of a sudden he looks over and this guy's pulling Ghost away and he's like, "Roar!"
You
And
hear a cheering
Ghost.
and clapping sound as Chandra is very pleased by your landing.
When Ghost feels the impact, she'll look over at KRONK and do a wave like it's fine, I'll be fine.
What did Ajani say?
Ajani said, well, I hope you are prepared for either result. I'm sure it will be fine. Jace is careful. And cocky, yes, but careful.
So long as he doesn't do it on purpose.
And Ajani gives you a large shrug.
If I catch Ghost's eye, it's just like that concerned look.
She gives an eye roll and a hand wave to him as well. And then gives a signal for, if I don't come out in 10 minutes, maybe come look.
Listen for the carriage call. Is that it?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. And yeah, at this point, Chandra has come up to you, KRONK. And she, you see that, like, she, like, has her hands behind her back really quickly and balances on the heels of her feet and then leans forward again. And with her kind of, like, smoky voice, that's more of, like, the... it's more of, like, a crackle in her voice, more so than just like a standard smoke. She says, "I never thought I would see you again."
Well, here I am.
and
he's actually blushing, but he's trying to be cool.
And she looks you up and down and says, "Yes, you are. So you're really good at jumping, right? Like, you seem really... Wow."
And it's
like
his
she's
leg,
like just like super close.
His thighs are like flexing, like all by themselves, like back and forth.
It is just like awkward small talk between you and Chandra during this time. And she's trying her best to be coy, but when her emotions run hot, her hair catches fire. So it's pretty easy to tell when she's interested in a particular individual.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. That kind of thing.
And she'll just like, "Huh? Oh," and like pat it back out a little bit. But Ghost, you are led into Jace's tent, and there is what looks like a... How do I describe this? It is a examination chair that is set up in the side of the room. It's at a more reclined angle, and Jace just leads you up to it by your arm and then kind of like pushes you forward and says, "Sit." How long has it been?
What are your intentions?
We don't have time. I need you to trust me on this one.
I don't know you. I can't trust you.
Okay, my intentions are not to fucking die. So I don't know what your intentions are right now, but if you come up to me and say, I've been spied on by the dragon and you have come in the middle of our camp, you are putting us all in grave danger. So I need you to fucking trust me on this one so that way I can protect everyone here, unlike what you are currently doing.
I'm gonna insight check him.
Okay.
Because that's what I do. 25.
He is incredibly serious.
Cool. Yeah, she'll sit down.
And he says, I ask again, when did this happen? And as you lean back on this chair, you feel his fingers press against the sides, the left and right sides of your head.
It's 4 days ago?
Like 7. Because it took you 3 days in the sewer and then for us 3 days to get back.
Right. So 4 days. It was, I was with him for 3 days. The last day was 4 days ago.
And Jace says something in a language that you are unsure what the meaning is, but you can guess on his flexion and his facial display that it is not a word that you can mention lightly around children. And Jace closes his eyes and he just shakes his head and says, it might be too late already. And he closes his eyes and you can feel the hemispheres of your brain reacting to magic. You can feel that there are...
Can he get in my head?
Jace?
With the item?
Do you let him? You had asked him initially.
Okay, I don't know if that's a thing, though. Like, if do I have to unattune to it to let him in?
No, you just have to decide whether or not you allow them in.
Okay, I will originally not let him in as kind of a, yeah, I know, like, I've done something, and then, oh, sorry, and then let him in her mind.
And as soon as you let him in, you think that, in a way, like, this was the true power play. Ha ha! Like, just because, like, just you enjoy watching people struggle with what they do.
I do.
And as soon as you let that guard down, there is a burst inside of your cranium. There is this wave of magical energy that you have never felt before that begins to wash over each of the hemispheres, that go through the base of your spine and then creep up and seem like almost food coloring in water, how it just has that bleed effect with the initial wash. That is Jace's magic, and you see that his eyes open again and they are a vibrant blue color. And he is muttering things to himself in this magical language that you, again, can't really understand. And you see that while he had these runic tattoos along the right side of his face, there are glowing lines that begin to extend up the left side. And soon he has these symmetrical runic tattoos along his face that are glowing with the same intense energy as his eyes. And he extends his hands outward and up, and you feel these deep memories that you have had begin coming out of you, but this time it is much more gentle than the last experience that you have had with this. And rather than it being flashes what you can see is that they look almost like playing cards that are spread out in row after row after row that are all cycling in, and you can see that it is you at different moments, like clips on a reel of film that have been taken and spliced out. This is you. And there is a moment where you feel he is just scanning for everything, anything that Bolas might have touched. And as he's working, you see him flick his wrist ever so, and one of these cards will pop up. And you can see from where you're sitting that it looks like they are torn. Like there is this deep gash that has been inlaid into it. And it's like a when you're trying to peel off a sticker and you aren't able to get the sticker all the way and it just has that remaining film on it. That is what Jace seems to be looking for. And as he pops out each of these marred memories, he just seems to with absolutely zero interest, just fold up the remaining cards, and then he moves his hand down, and then those go back into the front of your focus, seemingly to disappear. And he says, what is he looking for? What is he looking for? What is he looking for? And
He's found it.
When you say he's found it, Jace very quickly, very abruptly says, quiet. I'm thinking.
Ghost crosses her arms. Well, if you don't want to know, that's fine. Make things easier, I think.
And make a wisdom save.
Okay. Let me just check. Okay. It's a natural 20, so it's a 29.
Okay. You feel a wave of magical energy wash over you, in addition to the magics that are currently happening.
Mm-hmm.
This magic definitely seems powerful. Like Jace was trying to maybe make his situation a little bit easier without someone talking to him while he is doing intense mental magic work.
Mm-hmm.
And while flipping through these cards, he starts taking several of them and starts putting them away as well. And you can see that some of these have a picture of KRONK on them. Others are pictures of Wolf. Others are weird memories that involve the holiday nexus that Nicol Bolas actually seems to have taken quite an interest in.
Uh-oh. No, Santar!
And that's this year's Christmas crossover.
No!
The War of the Spark on Christmas. And all of these other thoughts and interactions that you've had end up getting pushed aside until there are a handful of them. There are 5 that are left. And one of them is a scarred picture of virtue. One of them is a scarred picture, or not necessarily of virtue, or yeah,
No, because
it wouldn't be virtue
I haven't
at
seen
that point.
Virtue, yeah. Or I hadn't at the time.
No, at this point it would be a scarred picture of you and your sister, a scarred picture of Sarkon, a scarred picture of the Stone of Galore, a scarred picture of Hubris and a scarred picture of Mechanus when you had gazed out onto the plane of order. And Jace looks these over and puts the image of the Stone of Galore back. He puts the one of you and your sister back. He puts the one, all of these others until it is just the plane of Mechanus. And he reaches up and grabs a hold of this floating card. And as he does, you see it gains physicality. No longer is it just a mental projection. It actually turns into what looks like a 3x2 playing card. And as he grabs it, he looks at it and then looks down towards you and says, "He wanted you because you know the ways."
I'm sorry?
You've died before.
Yes.
You've been to the halls.
Yes.
From what I can tell, from what Bolas is gathering, if he can reach that place, that is the easiest way for him to go from plane to plane.
So you're saying we can't kill him?
We can try. We can always try. Sometimes it's not about killing him. Sometimes it's about trapping him, just as Umezawa did years ago.
Can you see in my memories where he is now? What he was doing? He had me for 3 days. I must have picked up something.
And the thing that he picks up, Jace says, "This is a creature that sees only what it wants you to see. If there was anything that you remember, it's because he wanted you to see it." And he makes a motion like he's drawing a card in front of your face, and as he does, a light blue luminescent card appears and he tosses it up. And he says, "This is the part that he's wanting you to focus on." And you see a creature in the shadows that has a horn pattern that is in the shape of a crown, that they extend outward and then come up. And he takes another card and tosses it up, and you see Hubris with this large gash in front of the card before Hubris's horns got broken. And Jace moves his fingers together, and the horns line up as an overlay atop one another.
What does this mean?
And Jace looks at it and says, "I'm not sure."
No. He's not a demon, is he? Like some sort of devil or demon.
Bolas?
Yeah.
If he was, that would make things easy.
Okay, good.
Your definition of good is wildly different than every other standard definition of good.
You've been through my head. I think you know this.
And
is there any trace left behind? Is he still following me?
And Jace says, it doesn't matter now. And he begins to walk out of the tent.
Ghost hops down, throws open the tent, and she just walks back to her group.
During this time, when Ghost had left, he returned to Virtue and kind of hefted his gun, flipped it, and a saber swings out of the barrel. Do you still remember what Mom taught you? Taught us.
Okay, specifically about what? Because most of what she taught me was how to exit my life.
About the fighting part, sis.
Oh. Yeah, of course.
Need a refresher?
Okay.
Would that be a good time to cut the break?
As you are asking for the refresher, and the two of you begin to work with your swordplay, there is a scene I would like to get to before going to break. So your group is effectively not invited to the council. It seems like this is being held with just the primary planeswalkers, and seeing as how your group is outside of this, the only one who would have been privy and / asked to join would be Virtue at this point. Virtue, do you join the council?
Yeah. Yes, she does.
Okay. So, Virtue, you have joined the council, and standing in this council, you see that there is Jace, Ajani, Nissa, Jaya, Karn, Chandra, and then there are several other planeswalkers whose names you never really learned. You see that there is a Vidalcan man who is standing amongst these friends. There is a darker skinned woman who has also joined them, and you actually recognize this individual mostly based off of the clothing that they were wearing, but they're actually a member of the Orzhov Guild. It seems like their Planeswalker spark had ignited at some point. And when you are speaking to, or when the council is going on, there is much debate as to what they need to do and when they need to do it. And Jace says that it doesn't matter. It's going to happen whether we like it or not. And we need to trust her. And the others seem that there is trepidation in what Jace is saying. And Chandra even goes so far as to say, Vraska betrayed us. Why should we ever trust her? She's the reason we're trapped here. And that is when you hear another voice, a darker voice that seems to emerge from the shadow. And Virtue, you see a Ravnican Gorgon make their way into the council. And it is important to note that the Medusa of Ravnica have tendrils that come down in long braids, but they don't actually have snake heads on them. They have the ability to turn on and off their stone-like gaze. And you see that Virtue, you are wearing a very nice captain's gear for an airship. Vraska is wearing almost like a seafaring rogue's attire, even though she is of the Golgari. And
That's gonna have to change.
Vraska says, I did what I had to save my people. You would have all done the same. And Ajani roars and gets very close to Vraska and says, to save your people, you have doomed thousands. And Vraska looks at him with a cold platitude that she does not seem fazed by Ajani's roar. And she remains quiet, and Jace raises his hand and says, she has a plan. If it's any consolation, she has a plan. We're going to get it. We're going to find and we're going to destroy the Eternal Sun. Or the Immortal Sun, sorry. And as they say that, Gideon nods and says, Virtue, that I believe that it would be most suited for Virtue and her team to take care of this. We fight at the main front and give them time to infiltrate and take care of this so all of the other young planeswalkers can escape this place. And there is a back and forth amongst these planeswalkers about whether or not that they should entrust something with such gravity to you, Virtue, or if they should leave it to somebody else. And Vraska says that she will join your group to ensure that this gets done. And as she is saying this, there is a moment where these planeswalkers that had been in haughty conversations with one another all stop. And Virtue, you feel a pain inside you. You know that it's not a wound that is directly affecting your innards, but it is something deep in your core of magical essence that has gone wrong. And you hear a scream, and the scream is coming from Nissa. And Nissa has fallen to her knees, and she says, "It's burning." The tree is burning. And Jace brings his hands up, and you see that there is he's effectively created a scrying pool for all of your group to look at. And looking through this pool, you can see that there are fires that are spreading near the Vitu-Ghazi, the guild hall of the Selesnya. And as Jace begins to move around, he says very quickly under his breath, just shit. And you see that the view shifts. And it is of the Transguild Promenade. And you can see that there are Boros Legionnaires and Azurius Law Mages who are running from the Transguild Promenade off in the direction of the burning guild hall of the Selesnya. And as these Law Mages move away from this place, you see that the image is drawn in and focused on two particular individuals who look very much out of place in this otherwise vibrant, wonderful world of Ravnica. You see that there is a dark-skinned man with dark and gray-colored dreadlocks that hang from his head that has a more wild look in his eye, and you see that he is wearing a longer coat to cover what appears to be a long metallic arm that he has upon his right side. And next to him, you see a woman where the dreadlocked figure has a smile upon his face. She has a grimace. This is not something that she wants to be doing, and you can tell that on her face. And it is at this point that one of the large gates that is a part of this Transguild promenade is brought into frame as well. And you see the dreadlocked figure pull off his coat in a single flourish, and he extends his mechanical arm up towards the gate. And as he does, you see a crackle of purplish electric energy begin to course from his fingers, and his hair begins to rise and billow with an unseen wind. And with that, you see their thumb separate, their fingers separate until there is just this energy coursing through, and they plant their hand down onto the ground. And as they do, you see that this figure looks like they are weathering themselves. It looks like they are aging themselves in order to use this magic. They are amplifying their own abilities by their life force as this electricity shoots out of them and reaches both bases of the archway to the Transguild promenade. And that electricity courses up the side. And at each interlocking section of the gate, you see sparks begin to fly as electric fingers begin to pull themselves closer together from either sides of this gate. And you see that this once pristine archway is now glowing with this deep, vibrant magic. And the woman, dark hair, very vibrant purple eyes with what looks to be deep scarring in almost circular like patterns across sides of her face, closes her eyes and with a grimace still on her face reaches a hand out. And you can see that this hand that she extends outward has a very deep purplish energy to it. And the scars that she has and the marrings upon her face begin to fill almost like Jace's did with this same deep purple energy. And she raises a hand upwards and then draws it in. And as she brings her hand close, you see before you see what comes through, Ajani is crestfallen. The other planeswalkers are all staring in shock, and you hear Gideon mutter, "No," as you see wave after wave of what look like foot soldiers making their way through this gate into the city streets of Ravnica. But these aren't regular soldiers. These are an insurmountable number of undead creatures that are being drawn into the city streets of Ravnica. This is the arrival of Nicol Bolas's Dread Horde. And that is where we are going to go into our break for the evening. So I would like to say thank you to everybody who's decided to stick with us so far. I know that we went a little bit past the point of where we would typically have a break, but hey, we got there anyway. So we are going to try and be back in 5 to 10 minutes. So don't go no place unless it is to grab a food, grab a drink, grab a friend, or possibly go to indooradventure.redbubble.com. Pick yourself up something nice. But until then, we will see you guys shortly. All right, everybody. Bye-bye. Everybody, we have returned back to our Waterdeep War of the Spark. Last we left off, Virtue, you have seen the Dread Horde emerging from a planar gate that Tezzeret seemed to have formed. With the help of a unnamed planeswalker that you have a fairly good idea as to who it is based off of Gideon's reaction. It seems like this is the woman, especially with other descriptions that you, Virtue, have been given during your time communicating with the Gatewatch. You know that this woman's name is Liliana Vess. She is a incredibly powerful necromancer who was a member of the Gatewatch, although she was never really she was never on the best of terms with most of the other members, given her necromantic powers, as well as cursing one of their friends early on into their overall relationship. But over the last several years, she had definitely fallen out of the good graces of the rest of the crew. At this point, Ajani or Jace looks at Vraska, and the two of them both nod and then look over towards Gideon, and Gideon shakes his head, and Vraska walks over to you, Virtue, and says, "So you're the newbie?"
I would say that there are people who are newer than me, but if you want to call me that, sure.
I don't see anyone else as new as you within the members of the Gatewatch, so I'm just going to call you Newbie. Is that all right? I hope it is. Anyways, Newbie, so what I need you to understand is we have a very, very important job to take care of. I'll do my best to help you along the way, but a lot of this is going to be up to you. I know the words to turn off the Immortal Sun. I just need your help to get me there.
All right, I can do it.
And she nods, and you see that Ajani is currently helping Nissa stand, and her legs seem like they shake as she rises to her feet, and Jaya is there as well, kind of helping. And Nissa eventually kind of waves them off, and she says, "There's no time." And she goes over towards what looks like a small shrub that was growing from the dirt of the rubble belt. And she closes her eyes and extends her hands out, holding on to this large staff that looks like it is a very fine elven make. And as she extends the staff out, you see that this shrub begins to expand outward and actually morphs into a tree. And the tree begins to rise up. And Nissa says, we only have one shot at this. And Vraska nods and then looks towards you, Virtue, and says, "Gather your crew."
Got it. She turns and runs.
Okay. And at this point, Ghost, you had Jace had basically run from the tent to the council meeting, and you are exiting out. You see Hubris is somewhere at this point.
Cleaning his gun.
Cleaning his gun. Wink! Gross. And so, KRONK, you and Ghost have a moment, but Ghost, with your perception,
Yeah.
I would say that you would be able to see what was going on in the scrying pool that Jace had actually presented. So, Ghost, you see that there is a decent bit of the central city that is on fire, and you see that there are hordes of undead marching out of a large portal in the Transguild Promenade.
Oh, undead. That's something that's better. Better than gods. The city's on fire. It looks like someone opened a portal and there's hordes of undead zombies coming through. A necromancer that seems to be very upset about what she's doing, and then a gentleman with some dreadlocks, and he's got a fake arm, and he's opened up the portal.
Ghost, you you almost didn't think that that man was real.
Oh.
The only time that you have seen that form before was in brief moments of clarity when Nicol Bolas was digging through your brain. You know that he is one of Bolas's close operatives.
Do I know that he's the one who gave him the stone?
You do.
That's the bastard who gave him the stone. Well,
So,
looks...
Is that
What?
is that who we're going after?
I don't know.
No.
But if he can open a portal when no one else can, it's probably pretty powerful. I'm upset that a lot of this is over our pay grade.
Meh.
Seems to be a lot of people dying.
Yeah. Maybe the big ones all die off and then we can take over.
Okay.
Perhaps.
And Virtue, that is when you are making your way back. It seems like Hubris is currently nowhere to be found, but from your remembrance of him as a kid, he tended to do that sometimes, of just go off to sulk somewhere.
Never there when I need him.
Seems
No
like
time
things
to-
have heated up.
No time to explain, guys. We've got to go.
Well, where?
No time to explain. What did I just say?
I'm sorry, should we wait for your brother?
Are we supposed to get on? Am I supposed to be getting on my ship to go to this place?
Let's give him 3 days.
Nissa has said that they will provide a way.
Okay. All right. So not my whole crew.
Yeah. So actually, that is a very good point. Would you like to talk to your actual crew about the situation at hand?
I am decisionist now. I'm gonna leave without him. I'm not gonna say anything
Okay.
It's my girl.
because those motherfuckers would follow me to the end of the earth, and I don't want them there.
Yeah. As Hubris walks back up, the city's on fire. It seems that there is a horde of zombies.
What part of no time to explain did I stutter on? Let's go.
In
We're
this
going
moment,
somewhere.
Virtue, you understand what it must be like to be Jace Balerin at times.
No. We go. We're somewhere.
Okay.
Virtue is a Jace hole. Virtue is a Jace
Excuse you.
That's GB, not KRONK.
So, Hubris, we had said that you were in the final moments of cleaning your gun. As such, seeing Virtue come over in a very exacerbated tone, saying that there's no time to explain, that you all just need to go. What do you do?
Let's go.
Okay, so as you arrive at the center of this camp where the council was, Jace has 3 different scrying pools up that seem to be showing different scenes of events that are happening in Ravnica, and the center the center focus is actually above the Guild Pact chamber, the office that Jace holds within the actual city proper. And he is watching the skies, looking for something at this point. And on one of these other pools, you can see the Selesnian quadrant that is currently on fire, and then you can see the Transguild Promenade, where at this point you are watching as it's not just the same skeletal looking creatures that are coming out. You are seeing a variety of other creatures as well. It looks like there are zombified giants, there are creatures that look like they are a mass of dozens of skeletons that have all sort of formed up onto themselves and are making their way through the city streets. And commanding all of them is a woman who does not want to be there. And at that point, Nissa has been growing a shrub out of the ground using her druidic magics and has turned it into a fully fledged tree. And Ajani has delegated each of the planeswalkers up into groups to kind of take out specific areas and solve them. The planeswalkers that you aren't necessarily familiar with are going to be on Nissa's team, and they are going to be going to the Selesnian quadrant, and they are going to be helping out the members of the conclave there to put out the fires and hold back against the forces as best they can. For the more heist-oriented shadowed team, it is going to be Vraska who is joining up with your group, and it is then Jace, Ajani, Chandra, Jaya, and Karn, who are all going to be in the center group that are going to be going towards the Living Guild Pact chambers. And as you all are given a briefing on what you are to do, who you are to follow, like who is your commander in this specific squadron, Vraska says that the item that you are looking for is actually beneath the city streets, somewhere within the sewers. She knows roughly where it is, as it's more of like at an intersecting point between where House Demir is said to function as well as where the Golgari swarm is. So she has at least an idea of where to go, how to get there. And at that, Nissa closes her eyes and with her staff traces an archway on against the bough of this tree, and you see the tree actually split open. And inside of the tree, it looks like it is a gateway towards the Living Guild Pact, or towards the Guild Pact's quarter. And the center group begins to make their way out. And as they are getting ready to go by, Chandra actually will use her fiery powers to create a burst of hot air from underneath her to pop up. And as she does, she passes by you, KRONK, and just plants a smooch on your cheek and then pops back down onto the ground as she runs backwards into the portal. And she says, "Be here when I get back!"
Yes, ma'am.
And she lowers her goggles over her eyes, and together with the rest of the group, she makes her way. The tree then closes, and then once again, Nissa makes this spell. And in front of you, opening, is nearish the Transguild Promenade. There you can see through this opening, there are skeletal warriors, undead knights, and these boned behemoths that are quickly taking over many of the civility of Ravnica. It seems like these people were not prepared for such an assault during this time. And Nissa turns towards your group, and she looks at Vraska, and she squints a little bit, and she says, do any of you speak Elven?
No.
And it looks like she hisses something in Elven towards Vraska, and Vraska...
I do. I'm sorry, I do.
Okay. She hisses towards Vraska. "Just because you are helping does not mean I will ever forgive you for what you have done. And Vraska says, well, I'm hoping I can change your mind. And she just sort of like finger guns towards Nissa. And then together your group makes their way to the city streets nearish the Transguild Promenade where all of this is happening.
Right before we jump in, Ghost grabs Hubris and like plants a huge kiss on him, pulls back, and she's like, no white knighting.
Just a little white knighting.
We have a kid to go back to.
We do.
Hops in.
Okay.
Virtue's gonna look at Hubris just before going in and say, last time I went to the underground, it was really rough, and we've both gotten really good at running over the past few years, but we need to be running the same direction.
You got good at running away from danger. I got good at running into danger, so follow my lead. He will gently headbutt her and then hop in the portal.
Gonna shake her head and follow after him.
Okay.
And Kron's just so excited.
And I got their back. He like all the stone cracking, and then leaps through.
Okay. And as you are all transported to this this section of the Transguild Promenade, Vraska immediately kind of like pushes herself up against a wall and motions for the lot of you to do the same, to try and remain as unseen as possible during this initial breakthrough. You've already there was already a little bit of a magical flare-up as your group made your way here. So this is more lying low to see if that air of discretion was able to be maintained. Make a... I would like for all of you to make stealth checks as you arrive at this scene.
I'm
Oh,
gonna pop up
boy.
my hood.
I'm not built for this.
Me neither.
No! I have things for this.
Did you go click-clack on the stone with your heels again?
I guess.
I got an 18.
I too got an 18.
Kronk got a natural 20.
I got a 7.
I got a rock.
I got a rock. But I also have people who are trying to find me has disadvantage with the elven cloak.
Okay. So as everyone smushes themselves against the side of the walls, Ghost, as you emerge and you also get to a point where you are trying to like hide yourself up against a wall, you hear the footfalls of a large creature making its way in your direction. And skidding around the corner of an alleyway, shrieking as loud as they possibly can, you see a small homunculi with this singular large eye just like, and he looks around and that one eye locks directly on you, Ghost. And Fithlethip just sprints as quickly as you have ever seen this small creature run, and he runs directly for you, and then hops up, latches onto your leg, and begins the process of scrambling up onto your shoulder. As this creature is just shrieking in terror, having just witnessed more excitement than Fithlethip has any right to have ever experienced, there is the sound of smashing crates and broken stonework as a large undead form puts a hand around the side of a building and then pulls itself. And you see that this skeletal form is actually composed of what looks like at least a dozen other skeletons.
I'm gonna cast command on him.
On Fithlethip?
Yes.
Okay.
He needs to make a wisdom saving throw, please.
That's
He
funny.
got an 18.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
Fithlethip the found.
Damn. My AC is 17, so or the DC is 17.
Okay. Yeah, and Fithlethip is just like wriggling on your shoulder, shrieking as loud, and Vraska is just looking at you, just what the fuck? What the fuck?
Should I stab him? I don't know.
And then she looks over towards Fithlethip, and you see her eyes begin to glow.
No.
And it is at that point that Fithlethip just like breaks eye contact with her and looks up at this large lumbering skeletal creature making its way, and with a single point and shriek has alerted this creature as to your presence. And you can
Time
see
to move.
that this large form actually has what look to be about 6 more medium-sized figures sort of following along after it. There are others that look like they have this deep bluish gem-like material that seems to encase their bodies, with swords made of KRONK, what you would assume is the finest make. These forms are dead, but they have the look of champions on them. And you've seen warriors in the pits die wearing not even close to the quality of gear that these individuals have. And they are making their way towards you all. I would like for everybody to roll initiative as they get closer. And Vraska just looks at you, Ghost, and looks at Fithlethip, and she points towards Fithlethip and just says, "You are not welcome here." She seems to have a slight history with this homunculi.
Just quickly, I'm going to ask Vraska, how loud do we want to go?
She says discretion is advised, but if you can help it.
Cool. Dirty 20.
Okay. KRONK.
13.
Ghost.
Can't hear you.
24.
Okay. Virtue.
27.
Holy shit.
I'm eager. This is my first combat with Virtue. I'm very excited.
Yeah, we didn't have much combat leading up to this, but boy howdy. And then Vraska got a 12. And now all of these creatures. Needless to say, Virtue, you are going to be going first.
Yay! All right, so there is one big boy and 6 smaller ones?
Yes, that is correct. And 2 of the smaller ones look like they are wearing different armor than the others. A much more like commanding armor.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just tracking who is here. Okay, Virtue is... I want to ask real quick, what's the lighting situation here?
You are in dim lighting.
Cool. Virtue is going to summon a Shadow Blade with her bonus action.
Okay.
What this looks like is she takes out one of her daggers and then just passes her hand in front of it. And this iridescent light just kind of comes off of her hand and forms a much larger translucent purple blade. And it just kind of shines with blue and green lights as she turns it. And she is going to run in and try to get one of the guys wearing the armor that looks like they're in charge.
Okay.
Does a 27 hit.
Oh, for fucking sure.
Cool. Oh, this is also a booming blade. So as she does that, she's going to continue running past him and say, "Come and get me, you big lug."
Wait, so question. Booming Blade is... is it an action or a bonus action to cast?
It's an action. But you attack...
as part of the action.
It happens
oh,
as
okay,
a part
cool.
of it. Yeah,
Got
the
it.
attack.
Got
yes.
it.
Okay, so Here comes Shadow. Oh shit. I'll remember it for next time. There's stuff that happens in dim light for Shadow Blade. Okay. 15 psychic damage, I think, with Shadow Blade. I'll double check. Yes, 15 psychic damage. And then how does my sneak attack work? Because I am a swashbuckler with fancy footwork, they can't take opportunity attacks if I've attacked them.
Okay.
I don't need advantage to use my sneak attack against a creature if I am within 5 feet of it, no creatures are within 5 feet of me, and I don't have disadvantage on the attack roll.
Well, thankfully, then you sneak.
Yay! Okay.
Did you make your attack roll at advantage?
No.
Only with Shadowblade, yes, I think.
Yeah, dim light.
Yeah. Which is why I asked. Yes. If you use your sword to attack a target that is in dim light or darkness, you make the attack roll with advantage. I'll remember that for next time. I didn't do it this time. So 15 Shadowblade damage. There is 8 on the booming blade. Because at this level we do damage on the attack and also when they move. And here comes sneak attack. 7 sneak attack damage.
Hoof.
Come and get me.
Okay, and then you run by this individual. So then next up is Ghost.
Ghost, should I do a Blood Hunter bullshit roll to just make sure these are undead?
I would say you don't even need to make the roll.
I didn't know if it was
There's a lot of
magic
bone
bullshit.
here.
Yeah. So Ghost is going to shout to Virtue, "Get back here! I've got this!" And she's going to rip off her I know the name of this. The fluffy thing. And then she's gonna like rip open her shirt, present her holy symbol, and use Channel Divinity to turn undead.
Okay.
They need to make a Wisdom saving throw. DC is 17.
Okay. So it looks like all of the smaller ones are affected by this, but the 2 commanding looking ones don't seem affected by the turn at all. Mm-hmm. And as this skeletal behemoth begins to turn slightly like it was about to be affected, you see one of these bone knights raise their hand up and it looks like dark red tears are just being torn through the air in front of them, and that same dark red energy then pulses in the Juggernaut's eyes as they turn back around towards your group, as it seems like they have negated the actual turn effect.
Those bastards. Fine, I'm gonna light my crossbow.
Okay. Sounds good. So then next up, it is this here Juggernaut's turn. And it is going to come up towards you, Ghost, and it is going to try and do a heckin' slam if it wants to jam. And what it will do is actually gets it gets into your group, and you see its body begins to shake and rumble as it actually avalanches down and collapses into a pool onto the ground before reforming up. But as it reforms, the jagged edges of the bones are actually going to deal damage to everyone except Virtue, who ran quite far away from this whole situation. So I need each of you to make a dexterity save.
Can I have it make a dexterity save as well?
Yes, it got a 14.
That's fail. I got a 16.
Forgot about this dice. That's a 12.
Okay.
I have a question that has nothing to do with what we're doing. I have on my inventory a horn with which to summon help. Do you remember what that is?
A horn with what?
A horn with which to summon help.
Oh, that was the dragon. It was just like, yeah, on your plane.
Yeah, okay. It's like, that was like a last minute thing. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, Corey has one of those things too that she never used.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that'll be fine. It'll all work out.
Okay, how much damage?
So you are each going to take, or everyone who failed anyways, is going to be taking 16 points. If you succeeded, you take half.
Cool. And it takes 39 points of cold damage.
Oh my god. Okay. Sounds good.
I rolled like 3 10s.
That's pretty good. All right, so that is it for its turn. Next up, Hubris.
Boy, oh boy. Do I have line of sight on the commanders?
Yes, you do.
Cool. I'm going to burn a sorcerer spell, a sorcerer point to twin, and you see 2 chakrams made of ice appear in Hubris's hands as he tosses them behind the behemoth, and they're chromatic orbs.
Nice.
One's a natural 20 and one's a natural 1.
Nice. Are you hitting
so
the one that your sister already stabbed?
I'll hit the other one.
Okay.
I know how Booming Blade works. Oh, sorry. So that's 6d8. I should have prepped this. Do I mod the 30 points of cold damage.
Okay.
And then the other one just flies wide.
Got it. Okay. Sounds good. So that one flies wide. That guy took a dick ton of damage. Hubris, that was your turn. And next up are the commander looking units. These bone knights. One of them is going to you hear a rattling cackle escape from its chest as it then creates a spiral form in front of it, and almost like the same kind of chakram that you had, Hubris, it then underhand whips it. KRONK, I need you to make a wisdom save.
You tack, that's my move.
All right. Oh, that's not a good thing. All right. Come on, dice. Oh, 18.
Okay.
Because there's no bonus.
And the second figure, so KRONK, you feel this magical energy hit you, and the rest of you see this energy actually rise up towards what looked like it would have been a crown atop KRONK's head, and then it dissipates as KRONK kind of like shakes his head, remembering that he's got a Chandra to come back to at home. And
all about the smooches. All right.
All about the smooches. Always. KRONK's always been more of a lover than a fighter. And at this point, the other skeletons who had been making their way away due to the turn effect, the second of these commanders then makes that same ripping motion, and you see all of them stop and then turn back around, and then they begin making their way back towards the group. It seems like these commanders have some sort of way to actually prevent this kind of turn effect. Makes great for undead hordes. So then that was their turn and their turn. KRONK, it is your turn. There is this large juggernaut in front of you that is exploded bones upon you and then reformed itself, and then there are the lesser bony boys.
So stealth's not a thing, right? we're good.
And Vraska just like puts her hands up, just I guess.
All right, and so hence KRONK like gets out the thunder tongue great sword, and he starts stomping forward, and he says, "Hey, Ghost, is this one of them ziggurat schemes where we cut off the commander guys and then the rest of them become like bones?"
Shrug.
All right. And it goes right for one of the commanders then, the one who took a ton of damage already. Bonus action on the way in, rage and reckless attack. That is a 19, a 20 lot. Like a 28 to hit.
Oh yeah, that'll hit.
All right.
Are you
so
looking to
that's-
protect yourself or deal some damage?
deal some damage? Oh, Skyrim, I missed you so. All right, and reroll 1s and 2s. So that is 7 plus 9 is a lot. 16, right? 7 plus 9, 16.
Yes.
Slashy damage, and then 8 more thunder damage. And that was the first attack. Oh no. So does a 15 hit?
A 15 on this bad boy. It does hit. He's
Doggy.
large
All
and
right.
in charge, so
All right.
not too difficult to slam.
All right. All right, and I reroll 1s and 2s. Okay. So 9 plus 9 is 18 slashy damage, and a thunder damage of 5 thunder damage.
Okay.
And we don't know if the killing the commanders is the thing that takes these down. I mean, this is the one that already took a ton of damage. Is still.
This
Still
is
kicking?
sorry. Were you attacking? I thought you were attacking the skeletal juggernaut.
Nope.
Not one of the commanders. If you were attacking either of the commanders, one of them would have fallen.
Okay. All right.
It does
Yeah,
not
'cause-
matter with KRONK Goreblast damage.
Okay, because I was stomping forward. I asked
Okay,
about the
cool.
ziggurat stream when they
Got
shrugged.
it.
I
Yeah,
was
no,
like,
that was
well,
me. All me.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, so crunch, take one of those guys out, and then this damage on the next one, if that's applicable, or how
Okay.
okay, and
Sounds good.
we have just begun the mission. I will hold off on the second wind, or the not second wind, the
Action Church.
action search. Thank you.
Okay. So
That's it.
it is now Vraska's turn. And Vraska is just going to... She's going to move until she is standing in the middle of the alleyway. And she says, as her head tilted down turns up, and you see that her eyes are just pooling with this, like, sickly green energy. If you know what's good for you, avert your eyes. And there is a beam that seems to shoot out in almost like a conicular pattern from where she is gazing. And you witness these creatures begin to turn to stone. That it seems like her abilities are actually past the point of only being able to target the living. She is able to actually turn the dead into sculptures as well.
I cover Fizzletip's eye.
Aww.
And my own, obviously, but
Of course.
I did have to roll for it, to be fair.
Okay, got it. And then Vraska will say, we need to go. We need to go now. And she begins running and motioning for you all to follow. It's at this point that we are going to switch over from standard combat to actually go to a skill challenge as you make your way towards the Immortal Sun. So with that in mind, Virtue, you are at the top of the initiative order.
Are we trying to get through like a
You are trying to get through at this point, you are trying to get through a swath of the Dread Horde to go then underground, find your way to the Golgari area where Vraska is leading you. And effectively make your way to the Immortal Sun.
Cool. Well, I'm going to use acrobatics to duck and weave as we run through the crowd.
Okay, make an acrobatics check.
21.
21 is a success. So you manage to duck and weave and kind of spot out areas and directions where the Dread Horde isn't as thick, and together your group is able to just cut through these minions without really much hesitation. It seems like as a whole, the skeletons are rather weak, these undead soldiers. While they are capable of taking a decent amount of damage, their real strength comes in the undying aspect of them and not so much the initial can take damage aspect. Especially with your group having the output that you are actually capable of doing. And so then next up in the skill challenge is Ghost.
So we've moved through all of these zombies?
You have moved through the city streets and you are now entering into the lower portions of the city. And a place where Ghost has actually spent a decent amount of time, all things considered.
I will use survival to find my way around.
Okay. Make a survival check.
18.
Okay, with an 18, once you are in the sewers, as much as you don't like the scent of it down here, you remember roughly the direction it leads to the Demir Causeways.
Mm-hmm.
And that alone is valuable enough information for Vraska, who begins running alongside you, as sort of like helping to navigate through the distinct tunnels. And whenever you get to a gateway that looks like it is blocking off Golgari lands from the rest of the sewers, she pulls out a signet, and this signet looks much different than the other signets that you've had, or have seen. While as the others looked like they were more mass-produced, possibly given out generally, the signet that she pulls out looks ornate. It looks like this is a one-of-a-kind thing. And Virtue, with the time that you've spent on Ravnica, you can make a history check if you would like.
Oh, because I'm very good at those.
Super good.
Super good. I'm guessing this is going to be a 12 on account of the fact that I rolled a 13.
Okay.
And I would be right.
All right, so I would say a 12 is actually good enough for this. You had heard that the guild head of the Golgari swarm was a Medusa. A Medusa who was a powerful magic user.
You're the leader of the Golgari?
And she looks at you and just with a brief smirk, she says, "I'm a lot of things," and then continues running forward.
I would like to ask her a question.
Sure.
I don't know if this is the right time, but so you want to close this thing. You want to get rid of it. You want to stop all this nonsense with the dragon.
Rightfully, we need it open. I do admit, giving it to Bolas in the first place was a terrible idea, but I really didn't have another choice.
But you will help us in destroying it.
I will help you in opening the gates.
Do you intend to backstab us in any way?
And she pauses and looks at you. If I had planned to backstab you, you would already be stoned.
21.
Vraska has a lot riding on this.
Okay. I just want to make sure she's not gonna like, oh yeah, we did it. All right, now you know too much.
Can
Sink.
Can I do an obviator check on her real quick?
Yes, of course.
Okay. How's about a dirty 20, my guy?
What are 3 questions you would like to learn about Vraska?
I think that the first thing I already learned is that she's the leader of the Golgari. Second thing is she for real? Is she gonna betray us?
She will not betray you. She is for real.
I'm so proud. Welcome to Tuesdays.
Third thing. Oh, guys, give me some input here. What should the third thing be that I learn?
Does she have the actor feet?
I'm not wasting mine on that. I know she already does.
Don't worry about stat block, because if we spent more than a minute with her, I know all that. So
We've done a lot of running, though.
Does she mean that she can't help us pass the gate?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I don't know. It's your question.
Why is she helping us?
She is helping you out of a sense of remorse and a sense of duty. She knows that what she did is wrong, leading Bolas here, but she believes that ultimately there is a larger grand scheme of things that she will be able to help the Gatewatch more than she would have otherwise.
Okay. I think that as Ghost is getting more confrontational, she says, lay off. She's not going to betray us.
Ghost looks at Virtue, kind of tucks her hair behind her ear, and shows off a ring that she's wearing. And she says, I know. Gives her a smile. I have a ring of truth-telling.
Okay. So, then after that, Hubris.
Shit, we're in the sewers?
Yes, you are. And boy, howdy, is it gross.
Damn, I have a lot of social stuff, but not a lot of helpful stuff.
Big save.
Can I make an Arcana check to see, like, if I can feel out what the status is of extend my senses? Is there danger around the corner? Or is that would be perception?
That would be a perception check.
I tried. 14.
14 is actually not enough. As you round the corner, it seems like there is a war happening above the city streets. And then there are the things that lurk in the sewers that don't care about wars, that skitter and go clatter in the night, and you come face to face with a very big, very nasty, very large thing that is described as a horror in the actual guidebook. It is beyond true description, but it looks absolutely horrific, as your danger sense did not fully trigger leading into this scenario. Next up, KRONK.
Best person who could have been next.
I think basically if there is some type of terrain situation, KRONK will like full speed crash and just try to like take the thing and huck it down another tunnel, or something like that, like athletics, or stomp a foot and break part of what they place they're at, so it falls through.
Okay.
It doesn't have wings or anything, right?
No. It looks like it was a creepy crawly and not a freaky flyer.
All right, so it it creeps, hits us with the terror, and then KRONK back at it, and then tries to crush the floor. 24.
That is a success.
Athletics.
Okay, so you manage, using, of course, the wonderful stonemason skills that you have honed throughout the years. You find the point of structural integrity that will, when stomped, cause a very cinematic crack towards underneath this creature, and the floor breaks away from underneath it, causing this creature to fall. Vraska will then use her, she will forego part of the skill challenge to instead cast a spell that will cover the floor in vines, to then allow your group to pass over the area where KRONK had just ended up destroying. And she actually thanks you for sending it downward. It seems that below the causeways are actually the Golgari lands, and she is fairly confident that whatever fell down will soon find life within the loam. She is very certain of that.
Don't mention it. We got a job to do.
All right, so then next up, Virtue. You are at the top.
Virtue has had bad times in the underground, and the biggest lies are the ones that we tell ourselves. Virtue is going to use deception to pretend that she's not scared. Is this acceptable?
I would say that if you wanted to use deception, if there's anything coming after you, that you'd be able to like cover your tracks or like cause sounds down a different corridor than the one that you're going, make it sound larger, like that kind of thing. Like, because there obviously are still things that are approaching you. Things are closing in.
I do have minor illusion, so I could use deception to use minor illusion to like throw my voice down different hallways to like make it seem like we're going different ways than we actually are.
Yes.
Okay, I'll do that. An 18.
Okay. An 18 is a success. So this is something that you are able to do without issue. It seems like causing diversions and making others think that you are going one way when you're really going the other is something that you are relatively used to. So, next up, Ghost. And at this point, you are in the causeway. You know that you are relatively close to where you end up needing to go, and Vraska's directions give you a idea that it is not far away at this point.
Okay, I'm gonna use insight to no, I'm gonna use athletics to book it and like, maneuver over whatever I need to in the ways of getting there.
Okay.
Unless you think insight is better for like determining if we're going the right way or from what I know.
I think with Vraska leading you, athletics would be the easiest option here.
Cool.
To more just like push on at that final point.
It's a 9.
All right, so that is another fail.
Sorry.
Ghost, you just love wearing heels so much.
I do.
But they are just not, they are not meant for long distance sprints.
No.
They are more meant for like fashionable struts of power, but this is not that. And as you are attempting to run forward, you can feel your leg actually beginning to cramp a little bit from your particular running pattern, and you are unsuccessful in that attempt. However, Vraska lets you know that you are near the chamber at this point, and you can see now that things are getting more maze-like as you head deeper in. Hubris, is there anything that you would like to do? It's your turn for the skill challenge. What are you doing?
Things are getting more maze-like, correct?
Yes.
Would Vraska know precisely what direction we need to go?
She knows that whatever you are looking for is at the end of this maze. But if she knew how to get to the end, she would have already done all of this bullshit herself.
Okay. And we know that in between each sector of like corner and maze, there's like probably a drop off or something into the Golgari lands. It's cool. Yeah, whatever. I guess I'm going to use my acrobatics to keep a sure foot and like just make sure everyone's not slipping in the tunnels.
Okay. Make an acrobatics check.
+6 is 22.
Okay. So 22 is what you needed for this. So, yes.
Is Ghost like stumbles a little bit. There's a whoop as Hubris's fist rockets out, and there's like electric current coming down it. It implants in the top of the ceiling, and he swings past, grabs her just to keep her on her feet.
She doesn't swoon. She doesn't want to show it, but in her head.
Okay. And as your group gets to the end of this corridor, you can see it now. It is this, it is at the end of a chamber in this small room that is, at this point, is roughly about 80 feet across and 40 feet high. Just this large domed area within the Undercity. And Ghost, you have a memory of being here before. This feels familiar in a sense. And as Vraska sees this thing, she ends up running up close towards it. And there is a part of the floor, actually, she just seems to fall through it. It seems like it is part of an illusory floor. And you hear her fall quite a distance below. And the illusion dissipates, and you can see that there is actually a large crag that extends between the edge of a plateau where you are, and then this rather ornate spherical object that is made of pure gold and brass, and has a singular sapphire embedded into its center. And based off of what you've been told, Virtue, you are fairly confident that this is the Immortal Sun. And as your group looks at it, a figure emerges from the shadows towards you. And as they do, you can see that they have a very calm and collected look on their face, as their eyes seem to bleed out with this deep reddish magic. They're a calm smile still embedded, but with sharper teeth than you had initially thought. And you hear a voice. It's been a while, Vixen. And the figure steps out from the shadows, and you see that it is none other than Sarkhan. Goatee, long brown hair. His shirt is off, and he is wearing just the lower half of a tunic. And you can see that he has a deep red dragon wing that is actually extending out of his back, and you see that scales creep down the sides of his hands and turn into what look to be dragon claws. And he says, "It looks like our fun is going to be cut short." And as he says this, there is like a welling of fire that you can see visible in his stomach. And as it comes up towards his throat, that same reddish outpouring of energy blasts out of his mouth and out of his eyes and begins to swirl around him. And you see his form beginning to swell as he sheds his humanoid form, turning into a dragon in front of your eyes.
Can I have him make a dex check?
There's a natural 20, sir.
Oh shit.
He takes half of 46 as I cast Lightning Bolt at level 9.
Oh shit.
You can do that on your turn.
Ah, bollocks.
When we pick up next week. So, I would like to say, as you all stare down the form of Sarkon Vol in his purest draconic form, that is where we are going to call it for tonight's session. So I would like to say thank you to everybody who has decided to stick with us through this wonderful adventure. The War of the Spark will culminate next week. So as far as mini campaigns go, we kept it to 7. It's been good time so far. I know. But think about it this way. After that, you can find most of us doing Tomb of Annihilation, which will be a super fun time. So consider checking that out. But until then, hey RJ, where can we find you? What do you do?
Hey everybody, you can find me at RJustice. Why am I doing this? RJustice282 on Twitter and Twitch, where I tweet about the nerdy things in my life. And I will be streaming a lot more starting next week. So come join me for some good old fun. You can catch me here. Oh God, it's not Monday. Of course, on Monday, as Kaelin the Shatterkai Wizard Cleric in our home campaign, Hubris during our War of the Spark campaign, but not for much longer. And this Sunday, you can catch myself and LBHackEmUp over at G Game Nights with a K, where we play a Pathfinder 2nd Edition campaign. DanaeKeener.com.
Greybeard at Greybeard's Tavern. Check my schedule and the Twitter of that same name. Next up, I have Thursday, 4 p.m. Encounter Roleplay. I play the Mad Dr. Verrucht, and for Death's Curios, we may have a special secret coming up, a little project. So check us out. That'd be amazing. Other than that, this is my slow week. So check me Sunday morning after you check out Nexus. Travelers, come over,
Barry.
hang out. What?
We have Friday.
We do have Barry this week? Oh, hey, well, damn it, Barry's on Friday for our Saltmarsh campaign. Then come Sunday morning and hang out, and we'll play some Darkest of Dungeon and play with toys like I love to do.
Hi, I'm LBHackEmUp. You can find me at LBHackEmUp on the Twitters, where I've posted my new schedule. This week is my busy week. I'm here Mondays and Tuesdays. Next week, Tuesday, for our final game, it's my birthday, so I can't die. So tomorrow you can find me on Nerd Immersion's channel in a 5th edition game with Jordan with PH, who will be running it, and some other really cool peeps. I'm going to play Siren, who is the daughter of Hubris and Ghost. It's going to be fun. I will not be on Barry's stream on Friday, unfortunately, because I'll be back home for birthday stuff. But I will be on the game on Sunday with RJ. DanaeKeener.com.
And speaking of DanaeKeener.com, hi everybody, my name's Danae Keener. You can find me at DanaeKeener.com. I do nerdy drawings mostly related to D&D and a lot of things on this channel. You can find me here playing on Mondays, Tuesdays, sometimes Wednesdays, and also sometimes other times. I'm here most of the time, honestly. DanaeKeener.com.
And if you've made it this far, you probably already know who I am. But if you don't, hey fella, what's up? It's me, your buddy, your pal, your friend, the Indoor Adventurer, the showrunner here at twitch.tv/Indoor Adventures. As you've probably heard, we do shows like this Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If this is your first time joining, consider going to youtube.com/Indoor Adventures to check up on all of our VODs, or go to anywhere where podcasts are made available. If you would like to help support the show and keep us self-funded, consider going to patreon.com/Indoor Adventures and also gain access to our after show called Nights in the Courtyard, where we answer questions not only from each other but also from the community. That is where we are going to be heading now, of course. And the easiest way to ask all of them questions is by following the link to the Discord, either to the side, that one over there, or checking out the links that you can find below. As we said earlier, actually, I don't think that we said this. We said yesterday that we were going to be playing Monster Noir tomorrow, but then due to scheduling conflicts, we found out today that that's not happening. So I'm sorry, Monday listeners, you won't know this news unless you stayed a second day, which, hey, you know, it's always a possibility. But we are going to be heading out now. So I would like to say again, thank you to everybody who's decided to stop by. Thank you to these players for putting up with my bullshit once again this week. And we will see all of you guys next time. All right, everybody. Bye-bye!